Howdy folks! Welcome to my second addendum video for Horseshoes, Hot Dogs, and History. So, episode 2 is coming along for the turn of the century content, but I want to make this video because a handful of new Wild West guns have come out since then, and I figured a quick video to cover some oddball technology would be a nice addition to tide you over while that's still being worked on. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Anton added his own Sharps Derringer into the game, but luckily it's a different variant from the one that I made. So this is the vanilla game version of the Sharps Derringer. This one is the 1C variant, chambered in 22 short. The one I made is the 4B version, chambered in 32 rimfire. And as you can see, the profiles of the two are a little bit different, besides just being in different calibers. So you get two different options. They're both pretty terrible regardless, but hey, at least this wasn't obsolete. Next, I made an update to the Lefaucheux revolver. Specifically, I made a variant that was more in line with the military version that was in common use around the world. So this one right here is the 6-shot 12mm version that was commonly adopted around the world. And as you can see, it has a simple blued steel finish and no engravings, no real fancy features on it. So yeah, I was really happy with this version right here because, you know, as nice as this engraved 8-shot version is, it's not as common. So I really like having both versions here for you to choose from. Also, in episode 1, I don't think I really did a good job about explaining Pinfire cartridges, so I have one right here in front of you. So, this is a Pinfire cartridge, and you can kind of see here, this actually has a firing pin sticking out the side. So that is what the hammer strikes, and that's what makes this a Pinfire cartridge. It has the firing pin built into it. I also have another revolver from this time period. This is the Mas Emily 1873 Chameleux d'Alvin, or however you pronounce it. Honestly, not a whole lot to say about this one. This is your typical gate-loaded double-action revolver that I've already added a bunch of these and mentioned them in episode 1. This was the first double-action revolver used by the French military. It was used by reservists in World War I and by the French resistance in World War II. And that's really all I can say about it. Another thing I wanted to show was that when I talked about lever actions in episode 1, I briefly mentioned the mare's leg. I didn't want to show the version in the game that Anton made just by cutting down an existing Winchester 1873 model because I don't really like it a whole lot. It kind of leaves a lot to be desired. That is why I want to implement a proper one instead, which I am showing you right here. This is actually based on a Winchester 1892, not an 1873, but since these mare legs were kind of post-Wild West modifications anyway, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. As you can see here, this is basically just a short-barreled Winchester rifle, but you can also see that there's a little bit more stock to it than the Chop Shop variant that I just showed you. Also, the lever loop is a lot bigger, because that's what you really need in order to flip cock these properly. Okay, now for the genuinely wacky stuff. This is the Merwin and Hulbert series of revolvers. At first glance, they don't look too weird. They look like your typical gate-loaded revolvers. However, how you empty them is a whole different story. Just twist and pull. Ta-da! So, we have two that are single action, the first and second models. Not a whole lot of differences between them apart from just generally different profiles and different chamberings. Also, these are both single action revolvers, whereas the third model is double action. And for funsies, we also have the small pocket model. Fun for the whole family! Next up, we have the Smith Carbine. This is another Civil War era weapon, but this one is pretty unique. It's a break-action, cartridge-firing revolver, but it still uses percussion caps outside of the cartridge. Also, these cartridges are made out of rubber. They hadn't quite decided yet if brass was really the best material to make into cartridges. Luckily, they eventually decided that yes, brass is the best solution. I mean, can you even imagine how much it would suck if you had to clean burnt rubber out of your guns? Lastly, we have the Berdan M1870 No. 2. This is a single-shot bolt action. The Russians adopted this as their service rifle until they adopted the Mosin Nagant in the 1890s. The bolt handle is at an awkward 30-degree angle, and the handle just happens to be your only locking lug. So yeah, they hadn't quite figured out safety standards yet. Despite its eventual replacement, the Berdan was still in use as a rear echelon rifle in World War I and was still used as a hunting rifle until the 1930s. Okay, that's all I have for you folks. I don't really expect to be going over any new Wild West guns in the future, as we've already covered so many. You can check out these guns and more in the Wild West mod pack, which I will link below. Episode 2 of H3story is hopefully coming soon, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later, Tater!